They wanted to destroy you, to bury you in the ashes of their deceit, but they failed. I can see the weight of all you've endured, the scars that tell your story. Now it's time for your awakening. Listen carefully. What I'm about to tell you isn't just words, it's the thunder before the storm, the call of ancient blood in your veins. They tried to make you forget who you are, but the truth cannot stay buried forever. You are a titan, a giant among sheep, and giants don't beg for permission to rise. In the old Norse tales, our ancestors spoke of Jotnar, primordial giants who commanded raw, untamed power. When Thor himself faced these beings, even he approached with caution. That same force pulses through you now, dormant perhaps, but never gone. Your enemies sensed this power and feared what would happen if you ever truly woke up. So they worked to keep you slumbering. The small men who ruled small kingdoms built cages of doubt around your mind. They whispered that your strength was dangerous, that your fire must be tamed. Stay small, they urged. Stay safe. But safety is the dream of men who have forgotten how to hunt. The Norse warriors knew better. They understood that existence itself is warfare, not against others, but against the creeping comfort that steals your edge and dulls your blade. Every morning those warriors would rise before the sun, their bodies aching from yesterday's battle, and they would say, "I am still here. Odin has not yet called me to Valhalla. So today, I fight again. This is the code you've forgotten." But your body remembers. Feel that ache in your chest? That's not weakness. That's the weight of greatness pressing against your ribs, demanding release. The fire in your belly wasn't meant to be a gentle flame that warms your hands. It was meant to be a blaze that scorches everything that stands between you and your destiny. When your ancestors faced the bitter cold of northern seas, they didn't pray for warmer weather. They built stronger ships. They forged sharper axes. They hardened themselves until the cold became their ally. Pain wasn't their enemy, it was their teacher. Each wound a lesson, each scar a medal of honor. And now look at what they've done to you. Convinced you to fear your own shadow, made you believe that your rage is something to control rather than channel, taught you to apologize for taking up space. The breaking point isn't when they strike you down, it's when you stay down, believing you deserve the dirt. I see men walking through this world like ghosts, haunting their own existence, half alive, half asleep. They drift through decades, never fully breathing, never truly awake. Is that what you want? To drift through life like smoke, leaving no mark, changing nothing? Or will you stand as the mountain stands, unmovable, undeniable, carved by storms yet never broken by them? The Norse warriors had a saying, "Cattle die, kinsmen die, you yourself will also die. But the words of honor spoken about you will never die." What words will they speak about you when your time comes? Will they remember how carefully you avoided discomfort, how skillfully you blended in? Or will they speak of how the earth itself seemed to tremble when you planted your feet and finally said, "Enough"? Remember this. They tried to kill the giant in you because they knew what would happen if it ever fully woke. They were right to fear it. Your ancestors didn't cross oceans and survive brutal winters so that you could shrink yourself to make strangers comfortable. They didn't fight and bleed and endure so that you could surrender your power at the first sign of resistance. They carved their legacy into the world with calloused hands and unbreakable will, and that same force flows through you now. The path of the Titan isn't easy. It was never meant to be. In Norse tradition, ease breeds weakness. Comfort dulls the senses. The warriors would purposely train in the harshest conditions, not despite the difficulty, but because of it. They understood that the storm doesn't strengthen the tree by being gentle. Every time they knock you down and you rise again, you grow stronger than before. Every blow that fails to break you forges you instead. They don't understand this process. They see only the falling, never the rising. But you know better now. Look at your hands. Really look at them. These aren't just tools for typing messages or swiping screens. These are weapons of creation and destruction. With these hands, your forefathers built ships that carried them across unknown waters. With these hands, they shaped wood and metal into tools that changed the course of history. With these hands, they protected what was theirs against any who threatened to take it. These hands carry their legacy. Your blood carries their memory. Your heart carries their courage. The modern world has tried to tame this wildness in you, called it toxic, dangerous, outdated. But there's nothing toxic about standing tall in your truth. There's nothing dangerous about reclaiming what's rightfully yours. And the code of the warrior will never be outdated as long as there are battles to be fought. Today's battles don't require axes or shields. They require something far more rare, unwavering conviction, the courage to stand alone when necessary, the strength to speak truth even when your voice shakes, the wisdom to know which mountains are worth dying on. The Vikings had a concept called hamingja, a personal power or luck that followed a person through life. It wasn't given freely. It was earned through honorable actions, through courage, through standing firm when others fled. Your hamingja has been waiting for you to remember it exists. When the storm comes, and it will come, most men will seek shelter. They'll hide behind excuses and compromises, but not you. Not anymore. You will walk straight into the tempest, face first against the wind, and roar back at the thunder. Because that's what Titans do. That's what your blood demands. But what if I fail? The small voice asks. Hear me clearly. Failure isn't falling. Failure is refusing to rise again. The ancient Norsemen didn't fear death or defeat. They feared only dying without honor, without courage. They knew that even in defeat, there can be glory if you stand your ground until the end. They tried to kill the giant in you, to convince you that you were small, manageable, harmless. They almost succeeded. Almost. But embers still glow beneath the ash. The giant still breathes. And now, with each word I speak, it stirs from its long slumber. Feel it awakening in your chest. That rumbling power that makes your heart beat faster. That electric current running through your limbs. That clarity sharpening your vision. This awakening isn't comfortable. Transformation never is. Ask the sword if it enjoyed the forge. Ask the diamond if it welcomed the pressure. They would say, no. But without that heat, without that crushing weight, they would remain ordinary, unremarkable. You were not born to be ordinary. In Norse mythology, Yggdrasil, the great world tree, has roots that run deeper than any eye can see. Its branches extend beyond the clouds. It endures frost and fire, flood and drought. It stands, unmoved by temporary storms. This is the image you must hold in your mind as you walk forward. Roots deep in the wisdom of your ancestors. Branches reaching toward possibilities others can't even imagine. The weak seek constant comfort. The strong understand that discomfort is the price of growth. Your muscles tear before they strengthen. Your resolve breaks before it hardens. Your old self must die before your new self can emerge. They believe they could contain you with their rules, their expectations, their carefully constructed boxes. But did they forget what happens when you cage something too powerful for too long? Did they forget the nature of pressure? How it builds and builds until something has to give? You felt it building inside you. That pressure, that potent force pushing against your ribs, thundering in your temples. They taught you to fear it, to suppress it, to channel it into productive outlets that served their interests, not yours. But that force isn't your enemy. It's the very essence of what makes you unstoppable. The Vikings understood something fundamental about human nature that modern society tries to deny. Inside every person exists both a creator and a destroyer. Both aspects are necessary. Both aspects are sacred. To deny either is to become half a man. Your capacity for destruction isn't something to apologize for. It's the fire that fuels transformation. The old must be burned away before the new can emerge. Comfort zones must be shattered before growth can occur. False beliefs must be demolished before truth can stand. But destruction without purpose is just chaos. Your ancestors weren't mindless berserkers, contrary to what history books might claim. They were strategic, purposeful. They didn't destroy for the sake of destruction, but to clear the path for something better, to protect what mattered, to build a legacy that would outlast them. That's the code you're reclaiming now. Purposeful power, directed force, controlled chaos that serves a greater vision. They called Vikings savages because they feared what they couldn't understand. They call you dangerous for the same reason. Good. Let them fear what they cannot comprehend. Let them tremble at the awakening they tried to prevent. The giant they failed to kill now rises. Every scar on your body, every betrayal you've endured, every time they tried to break you and couldn't, these aren't just memories, they're evidence. Proof that something inside you refuses to be conquered. That's not stubbornness, that's not pride. That's the ancient calling of your bloodline echoing through generations, reminding you who you really are. In the depths of Norse winters, when darkness claimed all but a few hours of day and cold seeped into the very bones of the earth, the warriors didn't curse their fate. They gathered around fires and told stories of heroes who faced impossible odds. They reminded each other that harshness breeds hardiness, that the icy winds were not their enemy, but their teacher, showing them exactly what they were made of. What are you made of? Not flesh and bone and easy bruises. You're forged from something far more enduring, unbreakable will. The same will that drove ships through storm-tossed seas. The same determination that built civilizations in hostile landscapes. The same courage that faces death not with fear, but with a steady gaze and ready hands. When Thor faced Jormungandr, the world's serpent, he didn't question whether he was strong enough. He didn't waste time doubting his purpose. He stepped forward, hammer in hand, ready to meet his destiny, whatever it might be. The outcome wasn't what mattered. The standing up was. That's what separates Titans from ordinary men. Not victory or defeat, but the willingness to rise to the challenge without hesitation, without asking permission, without needing validation. They wanted you docile, predictable, easy to control, a domesticated version of what you could be. But domestication always comes at the cost of power, always demands the sacrifice of something wild and true. What parts of yourself have you sacrificed at the altar of acceptance? What fire have you dampened to avoid making others uncomfortable with your light? What truths have you swallowed to maintain a peace that serves everyone but you? Too much. Far too much. But here's what they didn't count on. True nature can be suppressed but never eliminated. The wolf may wear a collar, but it remembers the hunt. The eagle may perch in a gilded cage, but it dreams of open skies. And you may have played their game, followed their rules, diminished yourself to fit their expectations, but the Titan within has been gathering strength in silence. There's a reason they work so hard to keep you asleep. There's a reason they fear your awakening. Because once you stand at your full height, once you reclaim the power they tried to drain from you, their control dissolves like morning mist under the summer sun. In Norse culture, a man's word was his bond. Oaths weren't casual promises to be broken when convenient. They were sacred commitments bound to one's honor. Make this oath with me now. From this day forward, you will no longer shrink to make room for the comfort of those who fear your greatness. You will no longer apologize for the space you occupy or the power you possess. You will no longer accept the cage they've built around your potential. This isn't arrogance. This isn't ego. This is reclamation of what was always yours. The Titan rises not to dominate others, but to break the chains that have limited his true reach. Not to crush those below, but to elevate them. To show them what's possible when you refuse to accept the limitations others place upon you. Remember this: every great man in history was first considered dangerous by those invested in maintaining the status quo. Every revolutionary idea was first dismissed as impossible or unnecessary. Every meaningful change was resisted before it was embraced. Let them resist. Let them doubt. Let them mock what they don't understand. Their opinions are clouds passing across the sky, temporary, insubstantial, unable to touch the mountain that you are. The Norse warriors had a concept called word, a personal destiny shaped partly by the gods and partly by one's own actions. They didn't believe in passive fate. They understood that while some circumstances are beyond control, how you respond to them is always your choice. Your word isn't written in stone. It's forged in fire with every decision you make. Choose strength over comfort. Choose courage over conformity. Choose the hard path that leads to growth over the easy road that leads nowhere. These choices, made daily, compound like interest until one day you look in the mirror and barely recognize the giant staring back at you. They tried to kill that giant. They failed. Now, with every breath you take, with every step forward, with every obstacle you transform into a stepping stone, you remind them of their failure. You become living proof that the human spirit cannot be permanently caged or silenced. The awakening has begun. There's no stopping it now. In the ancient Norse sagas, heroes weren't men without fear. They were men who acted despite it. They weren't without doubts, they simply refused to be paralyzed by them. They weren't perfect. They were persistent. When the storm came, just survive it. They learned to navigate by lightning. Be that man. Navigate by lightning. Use the very forces meant to destroy you as illumination for your path. Transform obstacles into opportunities. Alchemize pain into power. The world doesn't need more comfortable men living cautious existences. It needs titans who remember their true nature. Men who stand firm when the ground shakes. Men who speak truth when lies are more convenient. Men who build legacies that outlast their physical forms. They tried to kill the giant in you because a world of giants is harder to control than a world of kneelers. They almost succeeded. Almost. But here you stand at the threshold of your own rebirth. The choice was always yours. It always will be. Step forward into your true power, or step back into the cage they built for you. I think we both know which path the Titan chooses. Rise.